Hey, this is Hal Ruth, and it's time for your Equalizer 9 tip of the week. What we're going to be talking about this week is joint ventures among general contractors. Now, you see all the time, you see these joint ventures between two firms building one project. But I have found that among general contractors and construction managers, so many of them don't know when and how they should go about picking a joint venture partner. So let's dissect this a little bit. I hope this is helpful. First of all, it's not important as to why we as general contractors and construction managers might want to joint venture, as it is why the client would find it beneficial that you joint venture. In other words, what's in it for them? I mean, it's obvious for us. Sometimes we want a joint venture because maybe the project is so large it would take up too much of our bonding capacity, and so we want to share that load with a partner. Or it may be that we don't have the depth of resources to manage it at this time, and so we need to share some of that load with another partner. So there's reasons why we would do it as partners, as CMs and GCs, but we want to dissect this from why the client would want you to show up as a joint venture. And so we're going to talk about that. So the first of all, what kind of projects generally do we see, or might a client want to entertain a joint venture? Number one, it's the larger projects. It's the projects typically over 100 million, more likely over 150 million. It's when resources can get stretched, and so there's benefit of two firms bringing their resources together, and a client may see benefit from that. But the big thing that we want to look for when trying to find a project that makes sense to joint venture on, it's generational projects. And here is what I mean by generational projects. Generational projects are the projects in our communities that are only built once a generation. For example, a convention center. We might build a new convention center in a community every 30, 40, maybe even 50 years. What about a new arena? Maybe every 30 or 40 years. What about an art museum or a history museum? I mean, these things are built, new ones from ground up might only be every 30, 40, 50 years. What about a big chemistry complex at the major university? So these are just examples of what we call generational projects, and there are other examples, big jails, courthouses, big prison facilities for the state. Regardless, they're generational facilities. Now, why is that important? It's important because usually on these big public projects, and by the way, private entities don't like joint ventures as much as public, although there are reasons why we would do that in the private world sometimes too. But in the big public sector construction world, those making the decision on which firm to pick are pressured in many cases to pick someone that's headquartered in that area, because the taxpayers are paying for this and they don't want to see their money go out of town. So there's pressure to hire someone local. But the local guy, because this project is generational, no one locally has built a convention center because there hasn't been one built in 30 or 40 years. Or maybe that one firm built it 30 or 40 years ago, but no one's left on the team that did it. And so they have a problem from an experience standpoint in that type project. And so here's what we want to do. We want to play a 1 + 1 = 3 for the client. We want to be able to bring that local firm that has relationships with that client, who brings political connections in the community, who has subcontractor relationships in that community, and has boots on the ground right here, and who is built all around this facility. And then we want to marry it on this side with a big national or international firm. They may have a presence in our marketplace, but they're not locally headquartered. But a big firm that has done convention centers, for example, or whatever this project type is, they have that experience in other markets and can bring team members to this joint venture team to be able to show that experience in that type project. And so that equals 1 + 1 = 3. It enables us to go to the client and say, look, we bring all the local relationships. We're headquartered here. We know you. We know the local subs. We have boots on the ground. And our partner brings experience in a convention center or whatever the project type is. They bring 4 members of the team who built 3 of these in other markets, who have lessons learned in this type construction, so they can show the resume and the portfolio. And those 2 things together can make for a dynamic joint venture partnership in winning this work, because it's beneficial to the client. The client gets to check all the marks, gets to check politically right, hired a local firm, but also has experience in this type project. So when you're trying to figure out how to joint venture, you want to figure out how are we better together? And why does it make sense for the client? And so that is the key on these joint ventures. Now, here's something important. I'll notice a lot of local GCs they'll see a big project, generational project coming down the road, and they immediately just say, let's just go grab one of these big guys. They need a local partner. But that local guy doesn't have relationships with that client. They think just by the fact that they have an address in that community, that's enough. It is not. That big firm wants to find someone who knows these people by first name, who has long-standing relationships, has probably done a lot of smaller work for this client. That's what they're looking for. And so we need to make sure when we're trying to pick a partner that we're picking that partner that brings those attributes that we need on both sides of this equation. So that's how you go about, that's when you would pick when you would decide to joint venture on a big project, and that's how you go about picking your JV partner. I hope this was helpful. And so tune in next week for your next Equalizer 9 tip of the week. So I hope you enjoyed this week's Equalizer 9 tip of the week. If you enjoyed it, please go on our website and subscribe to our newsletter. All you do is just put your information in there and we'll send it right to your inbox every week. Also subscribe to us on YouTube. And if you want to get in touch with me, you can certainly email me at how@equalizer9.com or call me at 919-427-1761. Until next time, have a great day.